Welcome to the Business Buyer Diaries. My name is Nathan Platter. I'm a full-time employee, and I bought a business. I did everything right, from finding the deal, handling all the due diligence on 63 opportunities, and ultimately bought a profitable gym. And boy, was I in for a big surprise as a new owner. I chronicled everything in real time, including the biggest wins to the stressful nights at 2 a.m. I'm sharing my journey without sugarcoating anything, so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. Here's today's episode. All right, so today we had the team huddle of all things. So the sellers, well, I guess there's two sellers. There's like the main person of the franchises, not the franchisor, but the franchises, and then his like business partner who does like the finance and accounting and vendor stuff. And the broker and I all met on Zoom at 9:30. We're all in very good spirits and we're all very amicable. So that makes the deal a whole lot better when we're all like each other and it's a good interaction. So we talked about staffing, making sure that the folks hired and in place are still ready to rock and roll and good to be there. Talked a little bit about some of the systems they have in place, like how they run payroll, their phone systems, their internet providers, like some of the minor things like that, and how transferable are they, or do they have to ramp things up to like get a brand new internet account, or can I just take over and get like a separate account now? So some little stuff like that too. Great news, the clubs are fully managed and staffed, so we're ready to rock and roll there. I know I'll have to do my own hiring and firing over time, but it's nice day one when there's a solid team in place. They know what's going on. The legendary club owner is there to help make sure it's a smooth transition. So that was really exciting to hear. And it was kind of nice to know like the next action steps. So when I hopped on, the seller and the broker were finishing up one interim document that they needed. So the lender needs monthly P&Ls for the current year of 23. It's now August, so the lender just needs P&Ls January through all of July. And they just to go through like what else they have to provide. And then stuff that the franchisee who's selling, what they had to get when they bought the clubs. And so realizing I'll have to go through like the franchisee training. Some of that is going to be like before the sale. And then I also need to get a checklist for after the sale on some of the follow-up work that I need to go through. So I know there's going to be a 5-day on-site training for the franchisor. I know that's coming down the pipeline, but just wanted to make sure there was no pre-work that I had to do before a sale could be made. So some of the action steps I had, making sure the FDD or the franchise disclosure document made it over to the bank. I thought I sent it over like 2 or 3 times by now, but I sent it over to the lender one more time. And then what was the other thing? It was that. And then I sent it over to them like 3 different ways today to make sure for sure it like went through and could not be missed. And then I messaged the franchisor, and they have a smaller home office, so it's kind of easy to get a hold of people. I responded back like they said, "Hey, do you have any questions? You've been talking to franchisees, excited to have you on board." I said, no. I responded today like, "Hey, thanks, no questions. Things are looking great. I'd love to be a franchisee. I'm going to need a closing checklist for both a new franchisee as well as a buyer of an existing franchisee, because it's going to be different bullet points for both." And then I asked if there are any additional pre-work items I need for them to make a decision, because they have to approve the sale as well. So a lot of moving parts, some stuff with the bank and getting the SBA loan, personal documents and everything. But then there's also getting the franchisor to approve this to make sure that I'm the kind of person they want joining the system. But yeah, seller and I are ready to rock and roll. And then once the kind of funny, so there's a lot of moving parts. Once the loan is bank approved, so the docs come in today or tomorrow, and the bank takes 2 to 3 days to make a lending approval. Once they do that, then the seller will then go talk to the landlord and sign an extension on their lease, because they've got like 6 or 7 years left. And at that point, they'll exercise the current options on the lease to extend the lease out to 10 years. So then when the lease transfers, I start instantly with a 10 or 11-year lease, which is great. That's the way it's supposed to be. And so right now it's a lot of like who does what first and then transfers to that person so that they can do their thing. But that's why you have these calls, so the broker can coordinate all that is happening. It looks like we're going to miss possibly the August 31st deadline. I'll probably bump it out to like September 10th or so. For what it sounds like the cash or the revenue cycle is pretty choppy the first couple of days of the month and the last few days of the month. but the 15th through the 25th is pretty simple. One thing that's kind of quirky, the members pay whenever they signed up, and they start like on that day. So if you sign up on the 7th of the month, they're now paying their dues on the 7th of every month. And so for some clubs, it's always the 1st of the month, boom, everyone gets charged. But here, like, it's money trickling in throughout the month and different expenses trickle out throughout the month. So it's definitely going to be important that I understand the revenue cycle, I think, and the expense cycle, so that if I know like my biggest cut in my bank account is going to be like the 12th of the month or the 13th of the month, then I need to plan for that to have all the revenue there. And if the final 10 days of the month is pure revenue, then I know, okay, that's more of the upside. So it's good to know like the monthly flow through. For most American households, like your bills are on the 31st or the last day of the month, and you get paid on like the middle and like the last Friday of the month. And so it's pretty simple for people, but figuring out this business revenue cycle, I don't know if it's revenue cycle or cash flow cycle, but figuring out how the money comes in, when the money goes out, so that I can plan accordingly and not see like, oh, I have $20,000 in the bank and then forget that the expenses of $25,000 are the next day. So great huddle today. I had my follow-ups of sending that franchise disclosure document to the bank. That's good to go. I then sent out the message to the franchisor asking what else I need to do. But I'm ready to lock and load and do it. So seller's been great. Franchisor has been great. And tomorrow we talk with the tax strategy guy. So that'll be a good one. That'll probably be one of my favorite recordings of this whole deal, because that's going to be the most valuable for everyone that's listening to this. This has been another episode of the Business Buyer Diaries. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I hope you're realizing that business ownership is no cakewalk. Check the podcast notes for a link to the DIY due diligence program, the complete list of show sponsors, and for media inquiries. Music written and composed by Wes Schrock. I'm your host, Nathan Platter. Join me again on the next one.